What is the good news, rarely mentioned in our community?
Somebody great emerges. You give a harsh condition and you get greatness. That's the good news. Every time something tough happens, somebody worthy raises from among us. That's good news. Now, the name I confused was Deja Taylor, 17 years old. She's invented a suture that detects the bacteria in stitches, and they're color changing, so it gives a visual warning that bacteria and infection are rising, and a doctor or medical staff would know to address it immediately. And even the person with the stitches now can say, hey, I'm in trouble, I need some help, because they have a visual cue, which is mind-blowing. Why haven't we thought of that before?
And my teacher pulled me aside later on and asked if I knew what my research topic would be. I looked at her, and I took this as my moment to express to her my love for Grey's Anatomy and how that would inspire me to pursue a research topic in the healthcare industry. Nonetheless, the lesson here to my visionaries everywhere is that you can literally pull inspiration from anywhere. So I decided to develop color-changing stitches to detect infections. The goal here was to create an equitable solution for the world's most vulnerable communities, most susceptible to surgical site infections. Fast forward, I spent months developing a prototype to present in these science fairs. And the craziest things started to happen. I started winning. I started winning top prizes in regional and state fairs, and this traction propelled me to apply for the most prestigious science competition known to man. My senior year, I applied to the Regeneron Science Talent Search, and that year, out of over 2,500 applicants, I advanced all the way to the top 40 finalists. Thank you.
I guess that was among us already, and we were keeping it a secret, but it emerged from her, so that's good news. And I also have some interesting news about first black man to go to space. Why can't I think of his name right now? It's Edward Dwight. Don't kill me, y'all. I think that's him. But it's good news to know that he finally made it to space at 90 years old. He was picked in 1961 as by John F. Kennedy, but he made it with all of the training. He still made it at 90 years old to space. So I think that's good news that needs celebrating. Goodnews.com. That's with the media recommendation. Books. I'm reading about lunar gardening.
I want to show you how I grew through the whole Michigan winter here. This is the cold frame. And we're right now in the last week of March. And most people are just starting their gardening season. But mine never ended. So we got collard greens, garlic, beets, cabbage, cilantro, kale, mustard greens, and arugula. So I basically grew through the whole winter when there was snow on the ground and everything, and now I'll be ready to plant for the spring. So a cold frame, not only does it help you extend your growing season, it also it allows you to get a head start on the following garden season.
I think that's worthy of talking about, gardening in itself. You know, the connection to earth, the bounty that the earth has to offer, and especially in these trying times financially. You know, the cost of food at the grocery store is astronomical, and with a few handful of seeds, you know, you could change your family, your community, your neighborhood. and have produce that was minimally expensive.
What is the good news rarely mentioned in our community?
When our children excel and become who they were actually put here to be, the success of our children, or good deeds that's done in the community. If you think about it, we don't get the recognition like we should get. Whether it's our children, whether it's us, or what have you, or something we invented, we just don't get the recognition for it.
What is the good news rarely mentioned in our community?
Right now, I know a lot of people probably don't think it's good news, but for me, right now, I think that the good news that's occurring in our community is that although it's been like this for a minute, as far as like just this feeling that me as a black man in America does not really have a voice, and feeling like that for quite an extended period of time. But unlike other times, because of social media, I now realize that I'm not alone in that particular thought process. And not only am I not alone in that particular thought process, I would say the unspoken thing but that's taking place in our community is that, for good or bad, with the current election and with the current state of the Democratic Party, even prior to Kamala Harris being elevated into the position that she's currently in, when Biden was still running.
Tonight, President Joe Biden's decision not to seek re-election is sending shockwaves across the nation. At 1:46 p.m. Eastern today, the president released a letter announcing his decision to step aside after weeks of intense pressure from Democratic lawmakers and donors for the 81-year-old president to do just that. In that letter, he said, quote, "I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to step down." And then in a post at 2:13 p.m. on social media, President Biden then endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to run in his place. Harris said she will seek the nomination, adding, "Together we will fight, and together we will win." Biden is the first sitting president since Lyndon B. Johnson not to seek re-election. His party now in chaos with just 107 days until the election.
But I am so proud of the race we ran and the way we ran it. And the way we ran it. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background, united by love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. And we did it with the knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
Just this reality that at least for the first time in my lifetime, that I'm seeing a situation where black men as a whole, we're saying, you know what, we're kind of tired of just going along with the flow. We know that this America as a whole really don't care about us, and there hasn't really been any type of effort to do anything for us. But I'm happy to say that, at least for the first time, and I don't know what the outcome will be, I'm happy to see that we as black men are talking about it, that we as black men are cognizant of it, that we are black men are tired of it. And I'm happy that we have said, you know what, we don't care what color a candidate is. We don't care. We don't care what you say you're going to do. We want to see proof of what it is that you're going to do. And we're tired of being overlooked. We're tired of being taken for granted. So that's the most positive thing that I'm seeing happen in our community, is that I'm hoping that we can collectively begin to move in unison, move in step, and get ourselves into a situation, in a position where we actually will be able to have some influence and autonomy and ability to shape and direct what occurs with our own lives and the lives of all the members in our community.
One of the things is congratulating black children when they've done well in school. The scholarships that nobody talks about. You know, we can turn on the TV and we see a lot of kids getting scholarships, but never do they mention the black kids.
The good news rarely mentioned in our community is just everyday stuff. Sometimes the good news it's not sensationalized, it's not exactly it's not grandiose or anything like that. It's just, sometimes it's just as simple as the kids did this thing. We went to school and this school did this. It seems normal. It seems like
today was a good day.
Boring, just to put on Front Street. But it is good news. And the reason it's good news is because we don't hear enough of that stuff. It's like we're being overwhelmed with end of the world content, where it's just like everything is the greatest thing ever, or is the end of our civilization as we know it. There's no in between. So sometimes it's the little stuff.
It depends on what your influences are.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Because when you're being bogged down, and I made that joke earlier, but that is a thing. There's a reason why, if you watch the news, that heartwarming, feel-good student, that news story.
They end with that.
They got to end with it, because we don't want you to think, the world is on fire, and we don't want that. So we're going to end this segment with little Susie selling cookies, and she was
all the damage they done to your psyche.
Yeah, I'm already scarred at this point. But now little Susie, who led her Girl Scout troops, and she sold the most Thin Mints out of everybody.
Right.
She gets a chance to get that prize, that's whatever. Because, but now the damage is done. So sometimes, maybe we should just start with little Susie selling the Thin Mints. Let's ramp up instead of bringing it down. It's like, every song has a point where they wrap up. You don't just start off at the hits. You get people in the mood, and then bring on the doom and gloom. So yeah, it's the little stuff in the middle.